Boys, we got a great video today. Okay, I've been planning this one for a little bit, all right? I was in the back of class making this slideshow for you guys, but be sure to like and subscribe. Comment if you want to see any similar videos. I was thinking about maybe doing like a top three prospects in each division, so just let me know what you guys want to see. And let's get straight into the first division, which is flyweight. Obviously, nobody's going to be too surprised. Flyweight number one, Demetrius Johnson. The 12 title wins, the 13 fight win streak. One thing I will say though, you'll see here at the bottom, I have like his notable wins and losses. It's kind of hard to find some notable wins for Demetrius Johnson. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like John Dodson, Joseph Benavidez. They're pretty good wins, but if I'm being completely honest, I think Pantoja's getting close. People are gonna hate that. People are gonna say, "No, Demetrius Johnson's the GOAT, bro." But I mean, at the end of the day, it was just a different time. He was defending his belt against people who were literally getting title shots off of the Contender Series. So at the end of the day, yes, he got 12 title wins, but are those wins as notable as even like for example, Alex Pereira defends his belt against Khalil Roundtree Jr. Yes, that's a title win, but it's Khalil Roundtree Jr. He's ranked like number 11. Is that as notable as like Marab's win over Jose Aldo or Marab's win over Henry Cejudo? I don't think so. So I think title wins doesn't matter as much when it comes to the GOAT debate. I'm gonna be looking more at resume, more at like win streaks, more at records. But I think Demetrius Johnson's still the GOAT. I think Mighty Mouse, one of the most skilled athletes of all time. On to number two. Also pretty obvious, we have Alejandro Pantoja with 4 title wins, the current reigning champion. This is pretty easy because if I'm going to be honest, after Mighty Mouse and Pantoja, there's kind of a bit of a drop off. Obviously, he got those 2 wins over Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. He's about to defend his belt again against Kai Kara France. It's technically a rematch. The UFC doesn't market it as that because I think when they fought, it wasn't a sanctioned bout. It was on the Contender Series or something. But they have fought before. Pantoja already beat Kai Kara France, but they're having the rematch at UFC 317 in the co-main spot. His only real notable losses are to Davison Figueiredo and Askarov, so he's pretty much undefeated in the UFC. He's got a few losses here and there, but he's on a nice win streak right now. 7-fight win streak, probably about to be 8 once he beats Kai Kara France. And honestly, some of these wins, like Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. We have Manel Kopp win. That's aging really well right now. Manel Kopp's on this big win streak, probably going to fight for the belt next. Steve Erceg, that's a good win. Kai Asakura is, I don't know how notable of a win we can say that is right now, but he was doing well in the Japanese. I think he was fighting in Ryzen, right? And he was doing well there. He was the defending champion. So honestly, one more win over Kai Kara France and then maybe another win over Mel Kopp, I think we have to start having some conversations about him maybe being the flyweight GOAT. I know people aren't going to be happy about that, but on to number 3. It's a little difficult. There's not like a clear number 3 GOAT in the flyweight division. I went with Brandon Moreno, mostly because of the 2 wins over Davison Figueiredo. Obviously, they fought 4 times. He won twice, he lost once, and then there was a draw. But I think the draw could have went his way. Also, the 2 wins over Kai Kara France, the Steve Erceg win, and the Amir Albazi win. The only thing holding him back is there are the 2 losses to Pantoja, which I think that just further helps the case of Pantoja. Maybe one day being over Mighty Mouse in terms of legacy. But also losses to Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Royval. I was kind of thinking about putting Brandon Royval in the number 3 spot just because he's got those wins over Moreno and Figgy, but I'm okay with Brandon Moreno at the number 3 spot. He has 3 title wins. I think that's more than Brandon Royval had, so I'm going to keep him here. He has a nice record. So on to the next division. We have the Bantamweight division. People are not going to like this. People are going to hate this because everybody's going to say Dominic Cruz, the GOAT, but then they're not going to put him in like top 20 conversations. Like if Dominic Cruz is actually the greatest Bantamweight of all time, you would see him put in like top 6, top 7 conversations all the time, and people don't. So that just kind of tells you, people love to say Dominic Cruz is the GOAT, but is he really? Marav Devashili. People are going to say he only has 2 title wins, but I'm telling you right now, title wins do not matter. The reason he only has 2 title wins when somebody like Mighty Mouse might have 12 is because back then you're fighting for a belt, 1 win, 2 win, even 3 wins off of the Contender Series. Guys like Merab have to go on 10-fight win streaks. Islam Makhachev had to go on like an 11-fight win streak before he got a chance at the belt. The same with Merab. It's the same with Bilal. When you get these heavy wrestlers that the fans don't love too much, they end up having to go on these big win streaks before the UFC gives them a title shot. And on that win streak, he beat some big names. I'm talking Marlon Moraes, Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, Peter Yan, Umar, and Sean O'Malley. Probably about to be 2 wins over Sean O'Malley, but I don't know if we can fully count out Sean O'Malley. I'm going to make a video about that soon, some UFC 316 predictions, but I honestly think this is the most underrated resume in the UFC. I think when you actually look at this objectively, like Sean O'Malley, people were talking about if he beats Merab, he's going to be the Bantamweight GOAT. Merab steamrolled him. Umar, everybody's talking about the future of the UFC, undefeated. I think he was like 18-0 or something. Merab beat him. And then Peter Yan, probably like a top 5 bantamweight of all time. Jose Aldo, top 10 fighter of all time. Henry Cejudo, double champ. So you just look at all these wins and the win streak and the fact that ignoring his first 2 fights in the UFC, he's undefeated in the UFC. That was before. I'm not really sure what happened there. I haven't seen those fights, but he lost his 2 fights and he went on this big 12-fight win streak that he's still currently on. So I think if he gets a few more wins, like a Sean O'Malley, and then maybe like a rematch with Umar or a Corey Sandhagen, we got to start putting this guy in top 5 conversations, top 10 at least. I think he's already in the top 10, if not like top 12. So Dominic Cruz, I'm still going to put him up here. 7 title wins, mostly because of the TJ Dillashaw win, I'm not going to lie, and the 2 Uriah Faber wins. But you just look at these wins, and they're not as good as like a Henry Cejudo would have. He does have the win over Demetrius Johnson. Pedro Munhoz, that's a good win. But it's just not as deep of a resume as Merab has. And that's what I'm trying to say. Title wins do not matter as much when it comes to GOAT debates. Especially when we're talking about in a singular division. We can't just base it off like, oh, this guy has 10 wins. This guy has 5 title wins. This guy has 3. That's going to be our top 3. No, it has to be based on resume. It has to be based on record. It has to be on how dominant you are, how you're winning the fights. He did also have a lot of losses. Some of the most notable ones here was the Cody Garbrandt win, which see, that's what I'm saying. Cody Garbrandt, that was one of the greatest wins of all time. Okay, people hold on. People like to say it's the most dominant win of all time. That was like 48-47. Maybe there was a 10-8 round in there or two, but still, if you have somebody emoting on you all the time, then you can't possibly be the GOAT of the division. That's all I gotta say on it. But Henry Cejudo too, Uriah Faber, so he's got some losses, but I think up until maybe 6 months ago, people were saying that Dominic Cruz was the GOAT, so I'm gonna keep him up here at the number 2. And at number 3, I have Aljamain Sterling. I know this is a little bit controversial. I probably could have also put like a Peter Yan up here, but maybe even a Sean O'Malley, but I don't think that's a good take. I'm not gonna lie. My number 4 would be Yan and my number 5 would be O'Malley. But he's got all these wins. He's got the Peter Yan win. I think he got 2 actually. So, oh yeah, okay, hold on. I put that on here like this. That second fight was controversial because of the illegal knee and everything. He also lost to Sean O'Malley, Marlon Moraes, but he has wins over Corey Sandhagen, Henry Cejudo. The TJ Dillashaw win is pretty good. And he's got 4 title wins, 24-5. I think he's something like 14-3 in the UFC. So he's got a great record. Lots of title wins against a better competition than somebody like a Dominic Cruz. So I'll put him in at my number 3. I know some of these wins are a little bit controversial. I'd be okay with Peter Yan at my 3. Peter Yan's probably one of my favorite bantamweights right now. But on to the next division we have Alexander Volkanovski. I don't want to hear anything about Jose Aldo, okay? Volk is the GOAT. There's no discussion about that. To come back and win the belt at 36 years old against a dangerous guy like, sorry, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden, Diego Lopez. Come back against a dangerous guy like Diego Lopez. He only has 4 losses, and they're literally to Ilia Topuria, Islam, and those happened at lightweight, so those don't even count. I want to say, when I'm talking about the GOAT of a division, I'm not going to count wins or losses that happened in another weight class. For example, when we're looking at his resume right here, I did not put the 2 losses to Islam on here because those happened at lightweight, so they have no effect on his featherweight legacy. His only loss at featherweight is against Ilia Topuria, and you can make the argument that it's not like a 100% loss because he had just been knocked out 3 or 4 months earlier, and then he moved down a weight class, so he was weight drained. So you can make the argument that he was not deprived, but you know what I mean, that he wasn't in the greatest shape for this fight. It wasn't fully his fault. And then he proved that by coming back against a dangerous, hard-hitting fighter like Diego Lopez. He has wins over Yair Rodriguez, 3 wins over Max Holloway. That's what carries his resume here the most, I think, is the fact that he's shown that he can effectively beat Max Holloway 3 times in a fight. I think that third fight, it was like a 49-46, really dominant fight. I understand that the second fight was a little bit controversial, but I think if you go back and watch it, Volk clearly won. I think people just weren't happy about it at the time because everybody loved Max Holloway. He has a win over Jose Aldo, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, Chad Mendes, Darren Elkins. It's clear to me that he's the GOAT. He also has the most title wins at featherweight, I'm pretty sure, so I don't think there's an argument anymore for Jose Aldo. And this next one is really going to make people mad because not only is he's not at my 1, he's not at my 2, okay? I have Max Holloway at my 2 with 5 title wins. Listen, people are going to be like, Jose Aldo, undefeated for 10 years. Yes, but then the moment the competition started to get good, he gets knocked out by Conor McGregor. He loses to Max Holloway twice. He loses to Jose Aldo. I think when you look at a guy like Max Holloway, you look at his record, Charles Oliveira, Anthony Pettis, the Korean Zombie, 2 wins over Jose Aldo. These are the kind of all-time wins that I'm looking for when I'm setting up somebody's resume for this video. Jose Aldo, he had plenty of good wins. Max Holloway also got those same wins and better wins. A Calvin Kattar win, not even in Max Holloway's top 4 wins, probably better than any of Jose Aldo's wins, excluding, here, let's go to his page. Maybe the Korean Zombie or Frankie Edgar, those are decent wins, but here's what I'm saying. Can I go back or no? Yeah. Max Holloway, he has better wins. He does have a lot of losses, but one of them is against the greatest featherweight of all time. The other one is against Ilia Topuria, who could have became the greatest featherweight of all time if he'd stuck around. And then another one is against Conor McGregor, who Jose Aldo also lost to. So I think Jose Aldo, he's a great fighter. I think he's top 10 fighter of all time. One of the greatest featherweights of all time, but I just don't think you're able to put him against Max Holloway, especially when he lost to Holloway twice. He lost to Volk. And it's not like he was out of his prime. He continued to fight for another 10 years. Clearly, he was in his prime. You can't just say the moment a fighter starts losing, they're out of their prime. Sometimes it's just the competition gets better. On to lightweight, Islam Makhachev. This would have been controversial maybe a year ago. I think nowadays pretty much everybody will tell you that the lightweight GOAT is Islam. 27-1, his only loss to Adriano Martins, but clearly a fluke. I think Adriano went on to lose his next 5 fights. Meanwhile, Islam went on a 15-fight win streak, so he just got caught with a bad punch, got KO'd. Honestly, if you look at it, it's a little bit of an early stoppage, but he has 5 title wins, which is the most in history for the lightweight division. 2 wins over Volkanovski, automatically the 2 best wins in lightweight history. Okay, he submitted Charles Oliveira in the second round, Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker, Renato Moicano, Arman Sarukian, and then that's before you get to the wins like Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Bobby Green. So, one of the greatest resumes of all time. I have Islam Makhachev in my top 3 all-time fighters in any weight class. So, one of the greatest resumes. Definitely has surpassed a Khabib or a Charles just because of the fact that he's basically undefeated. He has some of the best wins. Not to mention the 15-fight win streak. He has the second longest win streak in UFC history, and he did it against much better competition than Anderson Silva, who holds the number 1 spot. So, to hold a 15-fight win streak when you're fighting guys like Volkanovski, Charles Oliveira, Arman Sarukian is just absurd. So I have him at my number 1. I think even before the Renato Moicano win, you could have said this, but 100% now because he's at 5 title wins, he's the GOAT. In my second spot, I have Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think the Khabib hate has been a little bit forced lately. I think people like to say, "Oh, he's horrible, not top 30 all time." But come on, like lightweight is probably the hardest division, and he's the second greatest lightweight of all time. So obviously, he's got something going for him. He's got 4 title wins, undefeated, more 10-8 rounds than anybody in the history of the sport. That includes boxing. If you listen to Chael Sonnen, you know what's up. But beat Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Gaethje. Michael Johnson is an underrated win, okay? Because Michael Johnson, people don't think about him a lot. This guy beat Poirier. This guy had some really good. This guy beat Tony Ferguson. Before Tony Ferguson went on his 12-fight win streak. Michael Johnson was the first guy to beat him. Alaquinta, we don't gotta talk about that one, but RDA, completely undefeated in the UFC, 29-0. I think he only lost 3 rounds in his career, so you've got to put him at number 2. Although, there is one man, Charles Oliveira, and if he gets a win at UFC 317, I will be putting him over Khabib in the all-time list. Now you might say, but Charles Oliveira, he has 10 losses. How can you put him over? The guy lost to Jim Miller. How are you going to put him above Khabib Nurmagomedov? Well, the majority of these losses happened early on in his career before he went on this big win streak. It's like the Merab one, or the Islam, where they lose early in their career when they're just getting into it, but then they go on these big win streaks once they kind of get used to fighting in the UFC and stuff. So I don't think about those losses too much. I understand they were also a pretty good competition, but he went on this big win streak. He ended up beating guys like Beneil Dariush. That's an underrated win. People don't think about it a lot. Gaethje, Poirier. So right there, Khabib's 3 best wins, Conor, Dustin, Justin, Charles beat 2 of them, okay? If Charles were to add on an Ilia Topuria, an undefeated Ilia Topuria who's coming off knockouts over Max Holloway and Volkanovski, someone who people are picking against Islam Makhachev, that's better than a Conor McGregor win in my eyes. So I would put him over Khabib in that case. Not even to mention the wins over that. He has 2 wins over Michael Chandler. I forgot to put that on there, but Tony Ferguson, Jim Miller, Clay Guida. So I think if he beats Ilia Topuria, he's just undeniably the second greatest lightweight of all time. And if he won a few more times, got a few more title defenses, maybe he beat an Arman Sarukian in a rematch, I think there could be an argument that you could start to put him in the GOAT, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I will be picking Ilia against him in this fight, but it would be really cool to see him get a win. I love both of them. On to welterweight, we have George St. Pierre. This is the only picture of him I could find anywhere online that didn't have a background, and it's the most pixelated picture ever, so that's my fault. But I did some counting. It was a little difficult because he won a bit at middleweight, but he's got 12 title wins at welterweight, 13-fight win streak. Beat Matt Hughes, Matt Serra, BJ Penn, Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit. These are all great wins. He did lose to Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, but then he avenged those losses dominantly, finished them both. So I don't worry too much about those losses. He has the most title wins in welterweight history, longest win streak at welterweight history as well. So I think if you were to ask anybody, they would agree that George St. Pierre is the greatest welterweight of all time. And honestly, I think most people have him in their top 3 fighters of all time. So it's clear he has a great resume. Some of these wins, I don't know if they match up to modern fighters like Khamzat Chimaev and Israel Adesanya and a I was gonna say Sean Strickland, but these are probably equal to a Sean Strickland win. I'm not gonna lie, but a Robert Whittaker win. If we go to number 2, Kamaru Usman with 6 title wins, 15-fight win streak. Oh yeah, so he actually has a longer win streak than George St. Pierre because he's tied with Islam Makhachev right now. But 2 wins over Colby Covington, 2 wins over Jorge Masvidal. He got the win over Gilbert Burns, Tyron Woodley. Sean Strickland is his most underrated win, okay? People forget about that win a lot. He dominated Sean Strickland. I think he knocked him out in the 2nd or 3rd round. His only losses were near the end of his career. They were in a row. The 2 losses to Leon Edwards, which has aged really bad, I'm not going to lie. but also the Khamzat Chimaev win, which arguably isn't even a loss. It was a draw. So to take a guy like Khamzat Chimaev on 8 days' notice to a draw is really impressive. So I have him at my number 2. I've seen a lot of people argue that he is the welterweight GOAT. I don't personally agree with that, but I think if he were to maybe beat like a Joaquin Buckley and then come back and beat like a Jack Della Maddalena, I think there's a big argument for that. But my number 3 spot, we have Matt Hughes, okay? Underrated welterweight. I think he's number 3. 9 title wins. I've seen people put like Leon Edwards or Bilal Muhammad in their 3. That's crazy. Come on. I mean, we've seen Leon Edwards get dominated. We just watched Bilal Muhammad lose pretty badly to Jack Della Maddalena. I don't think that's on the level of beating guys like George St. Pierre, BJ Penn in his prime, Royce Gracie, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu artists of all time. He does have a lot of losses. He lost to GSP, lost to BJ Penn too, but he has wins over them, is what I'm saying. He has 9 title wins. I know it was early in the UFC, so the competition wasn't the best, but I still think he's a number 3 welterweight of all time. I think if Jack Della Maddalena were to beat Islam Makhachev, then maybe get like... Actually, no. I take that back. If he beats Islam, I'll put him at the number 3, okay? But until then, I'm going to keep Matt Hughes here. Moving on to middleweight Anderson Silva. Yeah, it feels cringy to put him at number 1, I'm not going to lie, but 13 title wins and the 16-fight win streak, it's hard to overlook that. But then you look at some of these wins, and it's like, yeah, the Forrest Griffin win is good, Chael Sonnen, that's okay, Vitor Belfort is good, but then it's like, what, Derek Brunson, Dan Henderson? I don't know about these wins, and he has a lot of losses too. People forget, before he joined the UFC, he got a lot of losses. He went on that big loss streak afterwards. I think he only got 1 win out of his last like 7 or 8 fights. So he also lost to Israel Adesanya, who I have in my number 2 spot. He lost to like Nick Diaz, Jerry Cannonier. I just don't think the competition was that good. I think if you were to put Anderson Silva back, or I think if you were to put like a Dricus Duplessis back in time with Anderson Silva, I don't know who would win that fight. I would pick Dricus probably. And maybe like a prime Izzy versus Silva. I could see Silva coming away with that win, but I think, I hear Lucas Tracy talking all the time about how Brendan Allen, if you put him back in Anderson Silva's time, he'd be getting 13 title wins. So I don't know if that holds true to it, but it kind of does, because Brendan Allen's a good grappler. I don't know if people in the middleweight division used to have that level of grappling. If you look outside of like no, honestly, yeah, like even Chael Sonnen, he had good wrestling, but I don't know how good his jiu-jitsu was. I think he kind of focused primarily on the grappling. But number 2, we have Israel Adesanya. You look at a resume like this, and it's so hard not to put him over Anderson Silva. I have them like tied. Izzy needs to move up a weight class so he stops losing in this division, so it can be like a debate, because he's already lost to Strickland and Pereira. But automatically, like, his win... Oh, I didn't even put it on this list. Oh, yes, I did. His win over Alex Pereira, automatically better than anything Anderson Silva did in his career. That's just a fact, okay? You can't argue with that. 2 wins over Robert Whittaker. One of them was a little bit of a robbery, but it doesn't matter too much for this. Paulo Costa, people forget. I know that didn't age well, but Paulo Costa at the time was undefeated. He was like 16-0. He looked really good. People thought he was the future of the division. He beat Yoel Romero in one of the most boring fights of all time, but still. Kelvin Gastelum, I think they recently put that into the UFC Hall of Fame fight. So, and then also you look at these ones, like even a Derek Brunson win, or a Brad Tavares, or Marvin Vettori. Like, do you think if you put Marvin Vettori back in Anderson Silva's time, he's winning the belt, okay? So I don't know. I think you could get away with saying that Izzy is the middleweight GOAT, but I'm going to put him at my number 2 just to avoid all the hate comments. And at number 3, Dricus Duplessis. Listen. All right, people are going to hate this, but listen, he's undefeated in the UFC. I understand he only has 3 title wins, but those wins were over Izzy, Sean Strickland, a former champion, twice, and Robert Whittaker, who is probably the 4th greatest middleweight of all time. So he beat number 2 of all time, number 4 of all time, and Sean Strickland twice. Not to mention the same like Derek Brunson, Darren Till, Brad Tavares wins that Izzy has. I think, listen, I think if he beats Khamzat Chimaev at 319 or 320 or whenever they have that booked for, I think you can make an argument that he's like head and toe with Anderson Silva. I would put him above Anderson Silva if he beats Khamzat Chimaev. That's how highly I rank Khamzat. But if I were to look at the future of this division, I think Khamzat beats Dricus and just goes on like a 10-fight win streak and becomes the GOAT. I'm not going to lie. But for right now, I'm going to put Dricus at my 3. Undefeated in the UFC. I know he has 2 losses, but they were early in his career. People say he's a goofy fighter, but if you actually watch him fight, he's one of the most skilled fighters in the UFC. I have him in my like top 4 pound for pound fighters in the UFC right now. So finally, at light heavyweight, we have Jon Jones. This one's pretty obvious. I mean, the undisputed GOAT. How could he not be the GOAT of his own division? 14 title wins just at light heavyweight, not even including the 2 title wins he has at heavyweight, although I don't really rate those too highly. But if we're talking specifically about light heavyweight here, he does have the loss to Dominic Reyes, okay? I understand that technically on paper it's a win for him, but if you look at the fight, it is clear he lost rounds. He lost rounds 2, 3, and 5. I'm pretty sure. He lost 3 of the rounds. Everybody agreed. Dana White even agrees. Dana White's always glazing Jon Jones. He agrees Dominic Reyes won that fight. But anyways, 2 wins over Daniel Cormier, 2 wins over Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Rashad. You see how many notable wins he has on here? Everybody else was like half this list, a third of this list. I mean, he has the greatest resume of all time. It's so clear. Even like he has Chael Sonnen as like his 8th best win, and that's Anderson Silva's probably like 2nd or 3rd best win. So very clearly the GOAT of the division. If we go to number 2, Daniel Cormier, 4 title wins at light heavyweight. The guy beat Gustafsson, Anderson Silva, Anthony Johnson, Henderson, Roy Nelson, Josh Barnett. These are all great wins to have at light heavyweight. I think he has an underrated resume. He gets overlooked a lot because of Jon Jones, but the only people he lost to at light heavyweight is Jon Jones. So I think it's fair to have him at the number 2. Anytime Jon Jones was gone for he'd been caught using steroids or he hit like a pregnant lady with his car and stuff, Daniel Cormier would come, fill in, take the belt, and just dominate the division. So I have him at my number 2. And at my number 3, no, I do not have, what's his name? The guy who fought Jiri Prochazka. I'm blanking on his name. Glover Teixeira. I do not have Glover Teixeira on this list. I have Alex Pereira. Now, I was debating putting Han Blachowicz at my number 3 spot just because of the wins over Izzy and Magomed Ankalaev, but I think Pereira, he deserves some respect. He's got 2 wins over Jiri Prochazka, a win over Han Blachowicz, even though that was a bit of a robbery. That is his best win at light heavyweight, though. The Jamal Hill win and the Khalil Roundtree win is like a decent win. I was actually there for it, UFC 307. It was pretty sick to watch, so I included it on the list. But this is literally his entire resume at light heavyweight because the rest of his wins were all at middleweight. He's only got a 12-3 record, but I think the quality of these wins outweighs anything. And the fact that all of these title wins took place in the span of like 14 months is insane. So I have him at my number 3 spot. He did lose to Magomed. I think if he loses to Magomed again, then I think it's going to be kind of hard to keep him at the number 3. Honestly, I think he should be moving up to heavyweight. I think if you go watch my last video, that's what I talked about. I think moving up to heavyweight is the best option for him. I think him versus Volkov in a number 1 contenders match, maybe for like UFC 321 would be sick to watch, but I don't mind a rematch with Magomed. I'm probably just going to pick Ankalaev to win again. Big Ank to get it done, but let's move up to heavyweight, our last division. We have Stipe Miocic, 6 title wins, the most in heavyweight history. The guy's 2 wins over Daniel Cormier, Francis Ngannou, Overeem, JDS, Andrei Arlovsky, Mark Hunt, Roy Nelson. So even Fabricio Werdum, I have him at my number 3 for heavyweight. So he did lose to Daniel Cormier and Ngannou, but there's when we're talking about heavyweight, I think losses don't matter as much because we're not talking about like whoever's the most skilled wins. A lot of the time it's just like people knock each other out, and flukes happen a lot at heavyweight because everybody's just plodding around, all powerful, smashing each other. Somebody's going to get knocked out. A lot of flukes are going to take place. I still have Stipe at the number 1 spot. I will say, I don't have Tom Aspinall on this list, but if he were to beat a John Jones, and then maybe like a Cyril Gane, and then I just don't know who else he would fight. I wish Francis Ngannou could come back to the UFC and we could see that matchup. That I would prefer that over the John Jones win, honestly. But if we go to number 2, I have Francis Ngannou. Yeah, I think if we could see him fighting Tom Aspinall, that would just be so cool. But he has 2 title wins. He beat Stipe, the greatest heavyweight of all time, so you've got to put him up here. He also beat Cyril Gane, which is like John Jones' best win at heavyweight. He beat Cain Velasquez, Curtis Blades twice. Those are super underrated wins. Andrei Arlovsky, Overeem, Jarinzio Rosenstrike. Oh, why did they get rid of him? Biggie boy, they got rid of him from the UFC. That's so sad. He was like my favorite heavyweight ever. Oh, they got rid of him, but it's whatever. He lost to Stipe and he lost to Derek Lewis. But, I mean, we all understand that the Derek Lewis knockout was just this freak KO. I mean, obviously nobody's going to put Derek Lewis above Francis Ngannou in any sort of list. That's what I'm talking about. These freak knockouts happen all the time at heavyweight. So, but 18-3, 2 title wins. I think his resume is pretty much on par with Stipe. The only thing is Stipe had those Daniel Cormier wins, and he had a few others. But besides that, I think they're pretty much equal. Francis Ngannou also, like you look at his boxing record, he's got some good wins. Actually, not even arguably, I'm going to stand on this. He beat Tyson Fury, okay? Francis Ngannou beat Tyson Fury in boxing. And the judges, all corrupt. Boxing is the most corrupt sport in the world. If we go to number 3, Fabricio Werdum. Okay, look. I couldn't even find a picture of this guy. This is the best picture I have, okay? But the guy beat Fedor. He beat Roy Nelson. He beat Cain Velasquez. He beat Overeem. He beat Gustafsson. Marcin Tybura. Mark Hunt. That's a pretty crazy resume, okay? You don't ever hear people talking about him, but he did lose to Volkov. He lost to Stipe and JDS and Overeem twice, but he's got a pretty good resume. I think people like to overlook the old heavyweight division a lot, but this is like an all-time resume right here. So I have him at my number 3 spot. I think you could have. There's some other people you could have put up here, maybe like an Overeem, or I bet a lot of people would have wanted Fedor at the number 1, but we're not going to do that today, okay? Yeah, actually, I'm going to talk about that. People, I watched, what's the guy's name? Hoopero MMA or something. He was doing his GOAT list. The guy's Fedor at like a number 4 all time. Name me 3 Fedor wins right now. The guy didn't even fight in the UFC, and we're going to put him at number 4 all time, greatest heavyweight of all time. That means you're telling me Fedor's wins over some randoms in like Ryzen or whatever he was fighting in is better than Stipe's wins over Daniel Cormier, Francis Ngannou, Overeem. It's just insane to say. Fedor is not the heavyweight GOAT. He's probably not in the top 5 heavyweights. That's not even a hot take anymore, I feel like. But let me know what you guys thought about this video. Let me know what other videos you guys want to see, because I actually had a lot of fun making this slideshow, I'm not going to lie. So I'm thinking maybe like a top 3 prospects in every division. I'm probably going to do another like 316 predictions, 317. There is going to be like 2 or 3 weeks in June where I'm out of town, so I won't be able to post, but because I'm not going to have any technology, I'll be like in Argentina and stuff. But I appreciate you guys. Please subscribe if you want to see more of these videos, and I'll talk to you guys later.